Kevin Stefanski is facing a leadership crisis of his own making. His refusal to give Shedeur Sanders meaningful first-team reps, despite widespread praise for the rookie's talent and readiness, has sparked a rebellion from within, most notably from Bill Musgrave, who's now openly challenging the direction of the Browns' quarterback development. Stefanski's preference for Dillon Gabriel has been interpreted not as tactical conservatism but as political maneuvering, further fueling a sense that Cleveland's coaching staff is more divided than ever. For a head coach already under scrutiny, this may be the turning point that defines, or dismantles, his control.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Every move from here has consequences. This is no longer about depth chart preferences. It's about organizational trust, clarity in decision-making, and whether Stefanski can hold a team together that's publicly pulling apart. If talent like Sanders continues to be sidelined, it could cement a culture that punishes risk and rewards conformity, a death sentence for any team chasing relevance. The Cleveland Browns have officially crossed the line from dysfunction into open warfare. What started as whispers around the quarterback rotation has erupted into a full-blown organizational crisis, centered not on injury, performance, or logistics, but on pride, politics, and power. The name on everyone's lips? Shedeur Sanders. This should have been a story about a promising rookie getting acclimated to the league. Instead, it's turned into a saga about sabotage. From the moment training camp opened, the signs were there. Sanders wasn't getting first-team reps. Not early, not gradually, not even when his performance clearly warranted it. And now, it's become impossible to pretend this is anything other than deliberate. The man publicly pulling the fire alarm? Quarterbacks coach Bill Musgrave. In a league where assistant coaches rarely go public with anything, let alone internal disagreements, Musgrave made it clear. He doesn't support what's happening. He doesn't agree with how Sanders is being handled. And he's done being quiet about it. Musgrave's defense of Sanders wasn't a passing comment. It was a pointed, direct critique of head coach Kevin Stefanski's decision-making. He called out the lack of meritocracy. He stood up for the work Sanders is putting in. And he made it painfully obvious that the coaching staff isn't on the same page. That alone should be alarming. When a team's own quarterback coach openly contradicts the head coach, it means the back-channel conversations are no longer cutting it. It means someone inside the building feels the need to bring things into the public just to be heard. That's not just tension. That's a leadership fracture. And the timing? Brutal. This isn't happening in the middle of the season after a string of losses. It's happening before the first snap. While the team should be focused on chemistry, play installs, and game prep, they're instead dealing with public mutiny from within their own staff. The coaching room is split. The media is digging. The fans are furious. And Kevin Stefanski? Silent. He hasn't addressed the controversy. He hasn't explained the rep distribution. He hasn't acknowledged that his own QB coach just aired out the organization's dirty laundry for the world to see. That kind of silence doesn't project leadership. It projects fear. Because let's be honest, if Stefanski had a solid explanation, he'd have given it already. The issue is no longer about development. That excuse collapsed the minute Musgrave spoke out. This is about control. About hierarchy. About protecting old decisions instead of adapting to new realities. And the reality is this: Shedeur Sanders is outworking people. He's outperforming expectations. His talent, his discipline, his presence, it's all there. The insiders know it. The media sees it. The locker room definitely sees it. Yet somehow it doesn't matter. Sanders is being held back and no one can give a straight answer as to why. That's how you lose a team. And no, that's not hyperbole. Player morale is built on trust. Players need to believe that what they do on the field matters. That showing up, putting in work, grinding through the reps, leads to opportunity. When they start seeing that the best player isn't always the one rewarded, they start questioning everything. It's not just about fairness. It's about credibility. And Stefanski's credibility? It's slipping. Right now, fans are divided. Some are defending the slow roll strategy. Others are demanding Sanders start immediately. But everyone agrees, the optics are a disaster. You don't sit on this much potential unless you're afraid of what it might mean for your current plan. And that fear is what's driving this entire meltdown. Because if Sanders steps in and outshines Gabriel, that's a direct indictment of Stefanski's judgment. That's a shift in the power dynamic. That's accountability, and apparently that's the last thing this coaching staff wants to deal with. So instead, they're circling the wagons. But it's not working. The more they double down on this decision, the more scrutiny they invite. Media outlets are turning up the pressure. Analysts like Chris Canty and Mary Kay Cabot are questioning the motives behind the QB rotation. Insiders are leaking that Sanders is being marginalized. And fans? They're starting to connect the dots. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. This is about how the Browns operate. Do they reward performance? Or do they protect hierarchy? Are they a franchise evolving toward real, sustainable success? Or just another team addicted to control? The answer right now is bleak. Because if Musgrave's bold move is any indication, the answer is that the Browns' leadership is more interested in protecting themselves than developing players. Musgrave's outburst wasn't about media attention. It was about the fact that no one inside the building was willing to listen. And if Sanders, a player with this level of talent, this level of poise, isn't getting a real shot, what does that say to every other player on that roster? It says this: hierarchy wins. Loyalty beats merit. Politics outweigh performance. And that's a death sentence in today's NFL. This controversy has already shifted from a personnel decision to an institutional indictment. It's about leadership dissonance. About a team that can't get aligned on who should be playing, let alone how to handle internal dissent. And it's made one thing crystal clear. There are people inside that organization who do not trust Kevin Stefanski's judgment. When a QB coach openly backs a rookie over the head coach's pick, it's more than just tension, it's a power struggle. And in a structure as fragile as Cleveland's, power struggles don't stay quiet. They spill out into the media, onto the practice field, and eventually, onto the field on Sundays. Because this will not go away quietly. If Sanders doesn't get first-team reps soon, every misstep by Gabriel becomes a headline. Every failed red zone attempt becomes a talking point. Every slow start becomes a referendum on Stefanski's decision-making. And if Sanders does eventually get his shot and succeeds, the backlash will be brutal. Fans will ask why he didn't play sooner. Players will question the wasted weeks. Media will go after the coaching staff for delaying the inevitable. And the fractures already forming in the locker room? They'll go from cracks to chasms. That's the cost of not handling this now. The Browns could have had a clean, merit-based evaluation. They could have rotated quarterbacks, let Sanders compete, and made the best decision based on performance. But they didn't. They made it political. They made it about preserving power. And now it's blowing up in their face. There's still time to course correct, but not much. Stefanski needs to step up and do what leaders are supposed to do: lead. He needs to stop hiding behind the rotation and publicly explain how the decision-making process works. He needs to bring the coaching staff back onto the same page. And he needs to give Shedeur Sanders the opportunity his performance has earned. Because if he doesn't, the Browns aren't just risking a few bad headlines, they're risking the season. The locker room. The trust of a fan base that has stuck with them through too many years of dysfunction to stomach another year of watching raw talent rot on the bench. Let us know where you stand. Is this just a growing pain, or is Sanders being frozen out on purpose? Should Musgrave have spoken up, or was it the only move left? And how long does Stefanski have before this entire thing unravels? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like button if you're tired of seeing talent wasted in favor of coaching egos. Subscribe if you want more no-spin breakdowns of the chaos other shows won't touch. And share this with someone who still thinks everything's fine in Cleveland. Because this is no longer a quarterback competition. This is a franchise at war with itself. The pressure that's been building quietly under the surface has erupted. It's not just internal. It's not just media-driven. It's not even just a question of reps anymore. This is now about institutional trust, or more accurately, the collapse of it. Everything that's happened around Shedeur Sanders at training camp has pushed this organization into a full-blown identity crisis. And no matter how hard Kevin Stefanski tries to act like it's business as usual, the damage is already spreading. Let's be real, fans don't forget this kind of thing. They don't forget when a franchise finally lands a promising quarterback, a real one with leadership, skill, and poise, and then turns around and buries him in the depth chart to protect someone else's feelings. They don't forget when the person who actually coaches the quarterbacks breaks the silence and says out loud what the rest of the building won't. That Shedeur should be in the mix and he's being shut out. And most importantly, they don't forget when the head coach lets it all burn around him and says nothing. Because here's the part Stefanski seems to be underestimating. This is not just a personnel issue. This is a trust issue. Trust between coaches. Trust between players and leadership. Trust between the fans and the front office. And that trust is evaporating. At first, there was speculation. Maybe they're easing Shedeur in. Maybe they're being cautious. Maybe they're trying to protect him from the pressure. But then days turned into weeks. Reps didn't increase. Opportunities never came. And still, Dillon Gabriel got to take the snaps with the starters. That's when the questions started getting sharper. Why are they afraid to put Shedeur on the field with the ones? Why are they pretending Gabriel is so far ahead, when the tape shows otherwise? What are they protecting? And who are they protecting? And that's where Bill Musgrave threw the gasoline on the fire. By stepping forward, he took all the quiet speculation and confirmed it. This wasn't about development. This wasn't about a slow ramp-up. It was about decisions being made for reasons that had nothing to do with performance. He didn't say it in so many words, but everyone understood the message. And it was deafening. It's rare to see something this bold from a coach. It's even rarer to see it done so publicly. But Musgrave clearly reached a breaking point. And that's what makes this moment so pivotal. Because when he is the one forced to go public to get people to pay attention to a problem, that means the internal channels have failed. That means he wasn't being heard. That means dissent was being ignored. And that's very bad news for Cleveland. Because when a coaching staff starts fracturing, it doesn't just affect meetings or practice schedules. It affects every layer of the team. It filters into the film room, into the locker room, into how players respond to direction, into how they perform on Sunday. Players are perceptive. They see the tension. They hear the tone in meetings. They feel the lack of alignment. And you know what players do when they stop trusting the system? They check out. That's the real risk here. Not just wasting Shedeur Sanders' rookie year. Not just losing games. But losing the locker room. Losing the buy-in. Losing the belief that this team is built to win. And once that's gone, it's nearly impossible to get back. Because this situation, as messy as it already is still evolving. It hasn't reached its final form. Not even close. If Sanders eventually takes the field and performs well, which every indicator says he will, the fallout is going to be brutal. Every snap he didn't get. Every practice rep he was denied. Every opportunity that was blocked to protect someone else's comfort. It's all going to come back on Stefanski. And the questions will only get louder. Why wasn't this move made sooner? Why did the head coach need to be forced into action by his own staff? Why did this team waste time, momentum, and trust trying to manage perception instead of just playing the best quarterback? And once those questions start, there's no stopping them. There is no clean resolution here. The best-case scenario now is damage control. Stefanski finally gives Sanders the reps he's earned. Musgrave is kept in the loop. The team finds some form of internal harmony again. But even that outcome is going to come with scars. Because this isn't just about an evaluation misstep. It's about culture. It's about what the Cleveland Browns really stand for. Is this a team that's ready to evolve? That's willing to embrace young talent, make bold decisions, and adapt when the situation demands it? Or is this a team that still hides behind titles and job security and rigid systems? Right now it's the second one. And the entire league is watching it play out in real time. Every team in the NFL deals with drama. But most of them keep it behind closed doors. What's happening in Cleveland is different. It's raw. It's public. And it's being broadcast daily, on social media, in press conferences, in player body language. And here's the wildest part. Shedeur Sanders hasn't said a word. He's done everything right. He's shown maturity beyond his years. He's kept his head down and kept grinding. He hasn't fed the media. He hasn't played into the drama. He's just continued to prepare, despite being sidelined by people who should be lifting him up. And if that kind of player can't even get a fair look, then what's the point? That's what Musgrave saw. That's what pushed him over the edge. That's what made this situation too big to ignore. And that's why, no matter what the Browns try to say or spin now, the stain is permanent. Because they've already revealed who they are. And unless something changes, soon, this franchise is headed for another season defined not by progress, but by chaos. The Cleveland Browns have fully backed themselves into a corner, with the entire football world watching, waiting, and whispering the same thing. This team isn't serious. Because how else do you explain it? You've got Shedeur Sanders, rookie phenom, leader, worker, talent so undeniable that media scouts can't stop raving about him. And somehow the Browns have managed to turn him into a controversy. Not because of his play. Not because of attitude. But because he's too good to ignore and too inconvenient to promote. And no matter how much silence Stefanski and the front office try to drown this in, it's not going away. Let's call it what it is, they're scared. Not of Sanders failing. But of what it would mean if he succeeds. Because if Shedeur Sanders walks in, grabs first-team reps, and immediately outshines Dillon Gabriel, If he takes command of the offense the way insiders say he's been doing in second-unit reps, then this whole developmental plan collapses. The politics are exposed. The favoritism becomes undeniable. And the credibility Stefanski's been clinging to takes a hit it may never recover from. And that's exactly why they're resisting. This isn't about the playbook. This isn't about earning your time. This is about control. Stefanski wants to be the one who calls the shots. When players rise, when they sit, how quickly they're allowed to grow. And Shedeur? He's not waiting around for permission. His game is ready now. His mental reps are translating. He's doing everything they say they want. And that makes him dangerous, not to the defense but to them. And Musgrave saw it coming. That's why he didn't just make a casual comment to the press. He threw down a challenge. His statement was a line in the sand. Either we reward talent or we keep pretending that hierarchy matters more than performance. Either we play the best guy or we admit this organization is more interested in preserving egos than producing wins. And Stefanski? He chose silence. Again. The longer he says nothing, the more transparent it all becomes. He's not ignoring Musgrave because he disagrees. He's ignoring him because he can't argue with him. Musgrave works with Sanders every day. He sees the reps, the decision-making, the way teammates respond to him. And when he says Shedeur is ready, that's not a hot take. That's a professional assessment. And for Stefanski to reject it, not just quietly but so definitively, it tells you exactly what kind of culture he's created. A culture where pushing back is punished. Where speaking up gets you sidelined. Where being ready isn't enough unless you're already anointed. And now all of it is playing out in public. The fans aren't fooled. They've seen this script before. The Browns finally land a quarterback with potential, real high-ceiling potential, and somehow find a way to complicate it. There's always an excuse. Always a delay. Always someone more familiar with the system, getting the nod while the more talented player waits for their turn, or never gets it. And the sad part? It's happening again. Right now. In slow motion. With a coaching staff that's fractured, a fan base that's fed up, and a locker room that's quietly losing trust. Because you can't keep morale intact when the message is this clear. Hard work doesn't always matter. Talent doesn't always win. The politics in the building can override performance. And that's what makes this dangerous. Stefanski isn't just creating friction with one player. He's creating a pattern. A blueprint. And it sends the wrong message to every guy on the roster. If a quarterback like Shedeur, who's done everything right, can be boxed out by coaching preferences and internal power plays, then no one is safe. No role is earned. It's all negotiated behind closed doors. And let's talk about the players for a minute. They may not be doing press conferences. They may not be leaking stories. But they're watching everything. They see who's getting rewarded and who's getting blocked. They know who's running with the ones and who's outperforming them quietly on the second unit. And they talk. Every practice. Every film session. Every meeting. This kind of tension doesn't stay bottled up. It turns into side glances. Into cold interactions. Into subtle fractures that deepen when the losses start piling up. Because this kind of mismanagement doesn't just stay in the off-season. It follows you into the regular season. When the offense sputters and Gabriel can't move the chains, and the team starts looking around for answers, it's going to be impossible to ignore the rookie standing on the sideline who wasn't given the chance to fix it. And when the pressure hits Stefanski's headset on game day, it's going to be way too late to pretend this didn't matter. Because now, every decision he makes is seen through this lens. Benching Sanders? Political. Playing Gabriel? Playing it safe. Refusing to address Musgrave's comments? Evasion. Keeping Musgrave in the building but ignoring his input? Cowardice. And here's where things get even more unsustainable. Let's say Sanders does eventually get his chance. Let's say Gabriel struggles and the noise gets too loud and Stefanski finally throws Sanders into a game. The question becomes, why now? If Sanders looks great, and there's every reason to believe he will, then the next storm begins immediately. Why was he denied reps in training camp? Why was he sidelined for political reasons? Why was the team willing to jeopardize the locker room, the season, and his development just to protect a flawed hierarchy? The moment Stefanski relents, he loses the illusion of control. The narrative becomes one of stubbornness, of delay, of wasted opportunity. And if you think the media's been hard on him now, wait until they get a hold of that arc. That's the trap the Browns are in. And it's a trap of their own making. They could have handled this cleanly. Let the best player win. Let competition sort it out. Give Sanders a real look, not just token reps but actual time with the ones. Instead, they decided on Gabriel, ignored what the QB coach had to say and gambled that nobody would notice. Spoiler alert, everyone noticed. And now the situation is radioactive. The only way out is transparency and action. Stefanski needs to address the rift. Not dodge it. Not pretend it's about competition. He needs to speak to Musgrave's comments, explain the evaluation process clearly, and, most importantly, give Shedeur Sanders a legitimate shot. Not out of pressure. Not out of optics. But because it's the right thing to do. If not, the consequences are already baked in. The season becomes defined by this divide. Every game becomes a referendum on what should have been. And eventually the locker room fractures become public too. That's how these things go. It's not about drama anymore. It's about credibility. And the Browns are running out of it. Now they have to live with the consequences. Because no matter how much damage control the Browns try to do, no matter how many statements they push through back channels, no matter how tightly Stefanski clutches the playbook, no matter how many times they mention long-term development, like it's a spell, the truth is out. The locker room knows. The coaching staff is fractured. The media is circling. The fans are louder than ever. And Shedeur Sanders? Still standing on the sidelines, still taking second-team reps, still doing everything right, while the people in charge keep pretending there's no problem. But there is a problem. And it's bigger than just quarterback politics. This is about a culture that resists change, even when that change is exactly what the team needs. It's about leadership that would rather maintain control than admit someone else might have made the better call. It's about a coaching structure where one voice, the one who actually works with the quarterbacks every day, gets silenced for telling the truth. And in doing so, they've taken what should have been a story of momentum and turned it into a case study in dysfunction. This could have been the year the Browns broke the cycle. New talent, a clean slate, a potential franchise QB, and an opportunity to build something real. But instead, they chose control over competition, silence over accountability, and now they're stuck watching it all unravel in real time. Because Shedeur isn't going to stay quiet forever. The media isn't going to stop asking questions. The locker room isn't going to keep pretending this isn't happening. And when the losses come, and they will come if this continues, every bit of pressure that Stefanski is trying to suppress now will explode under the lights of game day. All of this was avoidable. All of it. Give the kid a shot. Let the team compete. Let your staff speak freely. Reward the ones who earn it. That's how winning cultures are built. But in Cleveland, they're still too busy trying to keep the machine running exactly how they want, even if it's running in the wrong direction. So now the Browns have a choice. Own the mistake, course correct, and give Shedeur Sanders the platform he's earned. Or keep pretending. Keep spinning. Keep losing credibility by the day. You know where we stand. Let us know where you do. Is this sabotage or strategy? Is Stefanski still in control, or already spiraling? Should Sanders be starting, or is this just the beginning of a bigger implosion? Comment below. Like if you're tired of seeing this team waste talent. Subscribe for more of the stories behind the drama. And share this with someone who still thinks the Browns are doing just fine. Because if this is what fine looks like, we'd hate to see rock bottom.